Right, let's talk about Canada. Not the Canada of postcards and polite stereotypes, but the Canada that's quietly rewriting the rules of North American economics. For years, Canada was mostly known for maple syrup, apologies, and ice hockey. It was the friendly neighbor, the punchline to late-night jokes, and the place you might visit for a ski trip, or to see Niagara Falls. But now, it's become America's economic lifeboat. In a world where global trade is getting choppier, Canada is suddenly the safe harbor for US companies looking to stay afloat. The country we joked about is now a haven for American businesses. Canadian cities are buzzing with new storefronts, and the business districts are seeing a wave of fresh investment from south of the border. Imagine you're a US business owner suddenly boxed in by new protectionist policies. You're facing a maze of regulations, and the costs of doing business at home are climbing fast. Steel costs more, imported parts are hit with tariffs, and your business model starts to crumble. The supply chain you once relied on is now tangled in red tape and extra fees. Desperate, you look north. Canada is right there. It's close, it's stable, and it's open for business in ways the US suddenly isn't. This isn't just a quirky trend, it's a major shift. Headlines are filled with stories of American companies making the move, and the numbers are climbing every quarter. Big American manufacturers and tech firms are eyeing Canada, not for the poutine but for economic survival. They're setting up shop in Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal, drawn by friendlier trade deals and a skilled workforce. The very policies meant to protect American jobs are pushing them across the border. Factories that once powered small towns in the Midwest are now shuttered, while new plants open just a few hundred miles north. The story isn't in dry economic reports, it's in the hum of new factories in Ontario, and the silence of closed plants in Ohio. It's in the faces of workers starting fresh in Canada, and those left behind in the US. It's a tale of opportunity for some, betrayal for others. For every handshake in a Canadian boardroom, there's a family in America wondering what went wrong. By trying to build a fortress, America left the back door wide open. The unintended consequences are reshaping the economic map of the continent. And Canada? They're politely but firmly taking advantage. With every new deal, they're strengthening their economy and welcoming talent and investment that used to stay in the US. Sometimes, the punchline becomes the plot twist. In this new chapter, Canada isn't just the friendly neighbor, it's the unexpected hero of America's economic story, quietly changing the game while everyone else is busy looking the other way. How did we get here? It starts with tariffs, a tax on imports. The idea, make foreign goods pricier so Americans buy local. But modern manufacturing is global. A car's parts come from everywhere. Tariffs don't just hit foreign companies, they hit American ones needing those parts. Enter Canada quietly signing free trade deals with Europe, Asia, and the USMCA. Move your factory to Ontario and suddenly you're in a tariff-free zone, able to import parts cheaply and sell back to the US. The policy meant to keep jobs in America now pays companies to move them north. It's economic irony at its finest. America's exclusive club raised the cover charge so high, everyone's partying at the Canadian pub next door, Canada is booming and American businesses are lining up at the door. Sometimes the best way to buy American is to buy Canadian. Let's make this real. Meet Buckeye Metals, a fictional Ohio company with a very real story. Their journey is one that echoes across the Midwest, where factories once thrived and communities were built around the steady hum of industry. Buckeye Metals was more than just a business, it was a source of pride, a place where generations of families found work and stability. For decades they made steel parts for the auto industry, buying raw materials from wherever was cheapest. The company adapted to changing times, always looking for ways to stay competitive. Their workers were skilled, their products reliable, and their reputation solid. But the global economy is a moving target, and even the most resilient companies can be caught off guard. Then tariffs hit, and steel prices soared, both foreign and domestic. Suddenly, the cost of doing business changed overnight. Headlines blared about trade wars, but for Buckeye, it was more than news. It was a daily crisis. Suddenly Buckeye's costs exploded, but their customers wouldn't pay more. The pressure was relentless. Every invoice, every shipment, every payroll became a struggle to balance. The company started bleeding money, machines sat idle, and the once busy floor grew quiet. Layoffs loomed, and the sense of security that had defined Buckeye began to slip away. The CEO looked north and found Canada offered cheaper steel, skilled labor, and access to the US market. It wasn't an easy decision, but the numbers didn't lie. Canada's incentives and lower costs were impossible to ignore. The math was brutal: move jobs to Canada or close up shop. It was a crossroads moment with livelihoods and futures hanging in the balance. So, Buckeye opened a new plant in Ontario and downsized in Ohio. The transition was bittersweet: new beginnings for some, painful endings for others. The jobs, investment, and hope migrated north. What was meant to be a lifeline for American industry became a windfall for another country. The policy meant to protect Ohio jobs ended up exporting them. The ripple effects were felt far beyond the factory walls. Local diners, schools, and neighborhoods all felt the loss. It wasn't about patriotism, it was about survival. When faced with impossible choices, even the most loyal companies must do what it takes to endure. The American dream, outsourced by American policy. Sometimes the very rules meant to protect us can push us away from home. Sometimes the only way to stay in business is to leave home. For Buckeye Metals, and so many others, the unintended journey continues, shaped by forces far beyond their control. In Windsor, Ontario, there's a new optimism. The city, once known for its struggles, is now buzzing with hope and energy. Streets that were once quiet are now alive with the sounds of people heading to work, and local businesses are seeing more customers than they have in years. American companies are setting up shop, bringing jobs and stability. New factories are rising from the ground, and the promise of steady employment is drawing people back to Windsor. The community feels a renewed sense of purpose as families look forward to brighter days ahead. For workers like Mark, a welder, it's a lifeline: steady work, benefits, and a future. After years of uncertainty, he can finally plan for his children's education and even dream of buying a home. The sense of security is something he hasn't felt in a long time. U.S. protectionism, meant to help Americans, is fueling a Canadian boom. Policies designed to keep jobs in the U.S. have, ironically, sent a wave of investment north of the border. Windsor's factories are humming, and the city is thriving in ways few expected. Across the river in Warren, Ohio, it's a different story. The streets are quieter, and the sense of loss is almost tangible. Once busy factories now stand silent, their gates locked and their parking lots empty. The closure of plants like Buckeye Metals is devastating. Generations of families depended on these jobs, and now, entire neighborhoods feel the impact. Local shops struggle, and the community spirit is fading. For workers like Dave, who spent decades at the factory, it's not just a job lost, it's an identity erased. The pride of building something with your hands, of being part of a team, is suddenly gone. Many are left wondering what comes next. The promises of protectionism ring hollow as jobs head north. Hopes that new policies would revive the town have faded, replaced by frustration and uncertainty. The reality is stark: opportunity has moved elsewhere. The policy didn't protect Warren, it made it expendable. The very measures meant to safeguard American workers have left towns like Warren behind, struggling to find a new path forward. Windsor thrives while Warren struggles, all because of a single policy. The contrast is striking: one town's gain is another's loss, and the effects ripple through families and communities on both sides of the border. Two towns, one border, opposite fates. Just a river apart, but worlds away in opportunity and outlook. The border, once just a line on a map, now feels like a wall. The winners and losers are decided not by effort, but by geography. Hardworking people on both sides face very different futures, shaped by decisions far beyond their control. Sometimes the best intentions create the harshest divides. Policies meant to help can deepen the gap, leaving some to prosper while others are left behind. And the border has never felt wider. For Windsor and Warren, the future now depends on which side of the river you call home. One factory move is just the first ripple. When a manufacturer leaves, it takes an entire ecosystem, trucking, suppliers, diners with it. The shockwave hits the whole community, causing more closures and job losses. Meanwhile, Canada's new plant sparks its own ecosystem: local suppliers, jobs, and investment. The Canadian government sweetens the deal, and soon, a trickle becomes a flood. Ironically, American consumers may end up paying more for products now made in Canada. The policy meant to lower costs and protect jobs does the opposite. It's not just manufacturing. Agriculture and tech feel the impact too. Retaliatory tariffs and immigration rules make Canada even more attractive. A single protectionist idea reshapes entire industries across the continent. The web of consequences is tangled and unpredictable. Sometimes the biggest waves start with the smallest stones. Canada's boom and America's bust aren't set in stone. Economic policy is a seesaw. One new law and everything flips. The certainty businesses crave is replaced by constant whiplash. Imagine building a factory in Ontario, only for US tariffs to vanish overnight. Suddenly your smart move looks like a costly mistake. Workers on both sides face instability. Today's job could be gone tomorrow. Businesses hesitate, delay investments, and put off hiring. Why build anything if the rules might change in 6 months? The only constant is uncertainty, and that's poison for growth. Instead of healthy competition, it's a zero-sum game. The real loser? Long-term economic health. Behind the headlines, it's people who pay the price. When a factory closes, it's not just a statistic, it's a community losing its anchor. Dave in Ohio faces unemployment, retraining, and a sense of betrayal. Politicians tout big-picture wins, but ignore the devastation on the ground. For Dave, it's not a policy debate, it's his world collapsing. Even Mark in Windsor, the winner, knows his good fortune is fragile. Can he plan for the future when his job depends on foreign politics? The anxiety is constant, the boom feels temporary. Treating jobs as chess pieces erodes trust and stability. Policies meant to create winners often create new losers. The real cost is the loss of security families need to thrive. When livelihoods are pawns, cynicism and hardship follow. The game leaves scars that last for generations. Trying to control a global economy with tariffs is like damming a river with sandbags. You might block the flow in one spot, but the water, jobs and capital, finds another path. Soon, your neighbor's fields are green while yours dry up. You haven't stopped the river, you've just diverted it. Canada, in this story, is the neighbor with suddenly lush fields. The lesson isn't that protectionism is always wrong or free trade always right. The economy is a living ecosystem, not a machine with simple levers. Wall off one part and the rest adapts in ways you can't predict. American businesses flocking to Canada is a natural reaction to distorted incentives. The desire for control often leads to losing it entirely. The river of commerce will always flow, build canals, not dams. Right now a lot of that water is flowing north.